You flick them up and around. You can see the method for catching a boomerang is sandwich, hands either side. Now this applies to indoor, outdoor boomerangs, and you don't get your hands hurt. So just a flick. These can be thrown, of course, on the side a little more. You can keep them more vertical. You get a truer circle coming around. So, safety rules for catching. The only real damage a boomerang is likely to do to you is your head. So therefore, try never to catch a boomerang above the height of your neck. Always wait until it's about chest high and then catch it here if you have to. It's really only in competitions where...
Well, Albury, of course, is the place where the Hume Weir is, and the Hume Weir holds 7 times the water that's in Sydney Harbour. Yeah. So we called out to the Hume Weir first up, then off to Les and Arthur Janetsky's place, where Les shows his indoor boomerang skills. Now this was their garage, and it was here that they not only stored their car, but all those marvellous boomerangs that people around the world have collected and paid lots of money for come from. The boomerangs on the left there were the very first models that Janetsky's made. Most of these are Janetsky boomerangs, although some of them aren't. Some were ones that people had given to them. I think you gave them some, and I gave them some, and Bunny Reed. So they would put them up with their own boomerangs.
And they were in the habit too of just giving their boomerangs away, weren't they? They didn't want money for them, and it was just a case of giving them to people.
Yes, the only time I know of them actually selling boomerangs was to a shop down in the town where they used to sell a couple to a lady that ran a store in Dean Street, and that's where I used to go in and buy them. And then Les and Arthur would be most delighted that their boomerangs had sold and that the lady wanted some more. So you didn't like asking them all the time because they'd give them to you. Now this is where Les made up the boomerangs. Benches there, the vise. And then he would make them up. He would take them down the park and test them. If it wasn't quite right, he'd bring it back and try it again. And then this is the spot then that Arthur would paint them up. So not a very elaborate workshop, but a very tidy one, just like their boomerangs. Anytime visit, there's Yoshi Sakamitsu.
Oh, yes.
And this was when Yoshi was out here studying at the New South Wales University.
It was mining engineering, I think, wasn't it?
I think it was. And here we're out at Bona now with Jeff Lurie throwing in his inimitable style.
Yes.
Matter of fact, this whole film was going to finish off with a program that was made this year in 1993 on Jeff Lurie for the Getaway program. You might just study his style now and see if it's any different when you see him throwing, say, another 13 years or so down the track. So notice his Irish wolfhounds in the background. Raised Irish wolfhounds, big friendly dogs.
Left-hander, low throw.
Yes.
Very solid throw, because they're pretty solid boomerangs too, weren't they?
They were, yeah. They took a good bit of throwing, and Jeff was very good in the windy weather conditions. As we know, most of our competitions usually end up being windy, so he used to do very well in those competitions.
Would it be true to say that Jeff Lurie and Bill Knight and Bunny Reed were the main instigators of the hook shape?
They probably were, yeah, to my knowledge. Yes. One day I was there with Jeff and he put a boomerang up a tree, so he went and got his .22 rifle and shot the branch off, and that was one way of getting it down. Now Maurice Maxwell, Maurice to me is the #1 person for getting the Boomerang Association off the ground and keeping it off the ground, because the first 10 years of the association, Maurice was the association.
Yeah, he put a lot of time into it, didn't he?
Yeah. Of course, here's an expatriate American in Chris Hensgen throwing. I think in a fast catch here. He's got that boomerang and he's in a big hurry. This is in slow motion, of course.
I think Chris's silver gull boomerang was something that inspired a lot of people to try different shapes from the traditional.
That's right, a different angle in the arm. Yes. Chris, of course, in those days for fast catch, when you took your 5th catch, the time finished. And Chris worked out that on the 5th throw, if you threw it and ran out and met it at the line and caught it just as it came back into the 20 metres, then you would save a few seconds' time.
Yes.
So that led us, of course, to eventually change the rule to making sure that you had to finish in the centre circle. But Chris is one that we've sort of lost the boomerang throwing a little bit because of his married life. It's caught him up a lot more now, and he hasn't got the time free to do what he would like with boomerangs.
And he was one of the people who had a lot to do with the preparation of the Americans coming out in '81, wasn't he?
Yes. There it is. He's got that 5th catch.
He was well known for the Henskin roll, wasn't he?
He was.
Wonder if the knee pads underneath the tracksuit pants there. There he goes, onto the knees.
When he was wearing out his knees doing that catch. Here's a young Michael Ovington throwing. Michael's one of our junior throwers who was a very good thrower and kept going with it until he got to seniors. Then a year or two later we sort of lost him to the sport. Had to go away. Wollongong. Janine Knight, daughter of Billy Knight. Knight family supplied about half a dozen boomerang throwers to the association in those early days. And then Robbie Arthur, the son of Ken Arthur, who's our 72-year-old thrower in Sydney. Robbie's about to get married. And time moves on. Yeah, as I say, that's how we lose many of our boomerang throwers, that they have other commitments that come up in their lives. Yes, Chris worked out that if he dropped on his knees, there was his lap to catch the boomerang in and there was less chance of dropping it.
Yes.
It was a definite Henskin style. Chris actually broke the catching record here. He took 144 catches.
That's right.
Yes, got a new consecutive catch record at that time. Here's Ken Ovington. Ken is the father of Michael. Ken, when I left Albury, Ken became the organiser of competitions in Albury for us. Throwing a Janetsky boomerang too, and Morris Maxwell doing the job that he did so well for so many years, recording the results of competitions. Morris's van used to always be full of paperwork from the association.
Yes, and his business card had on it, have boomerang, will travel.
That's right.
Yes.
Now this was an American chappie who was out at the park that day and had learnt to throw a boomerang, and so we talked him into taking part in the competition. We said, look, go back to America, at least you can say you took part in a boomerang competition. He did reasonably well in this competition. His name was Green. There he goes, nice catch there. Of course, it's a nice relaxed sport if you're not throwing.
Is this Gelbart Park?
Yeah, Gelbart Park at Albury. Yes, I think Albury is statistically the second most windless city in the world. That's why it's so suitable for boomerang throwing, that on most days you could go out and get fairly calm conditions. more recent years, the windy weather seems to save itself for our competition.
Yes.
This is Michael Gallagher, another Christian brother like myself, keen on the throwing.
Yes, how many of the brothers would you have got seriously involved in it altogether?
There might have been about half a dozen that may have eventually ever entered a competition, but only one or two that entered a competition more than once.
Right. You certainly got the flight path worked out.
Right.
Morris again.
Yes. I think you'll see in the back of Morris's trousers one of his favourite boomerangs, which was a Janetsky skippy that was a bit narrower than the usual skippy, and it was called the Greyhound. Morris could put that out 50 metres.
Yes, if Bob Burwell has that characteristic skipping throw, I think Morris's trademark is the hand to the head after the throw.
That's right, yes. And when Dennis comes on a bit later, I think you'll find Dennis has a lean over to the side and follow the boomerang look. I don't think he won the accuracy comp on the last throw. Now, Chris Hensgen was doing very well in the Aussie round with this boomerang. It was a boomerang made by Hamish Robb that he'd added some lead weights to, but he had a lead weight up near the middle of it as well as on the end. And a little bit later on, I think you'll find he throws it out so far that it goes out of the field and hits a fence and gets broken in two. And young Yoshi will hold up the two parts for us. There's Yoshi now. And as a result, Chris had to change boomerangs, and I think he didn't win the competition then, but the way he was going to walk it in.
Of course, in those days, it wasn't called the Aussie round, was it? It was the General Championship.
That's right.
But when Yoshi won the accuracy competition for the Sydney Championships, that actually did a lot for boomerangs in Japan, didn't it?
It did. Yes, he's got 140 members in Japan now. Very good catch by Yoshi. Now this could be the throw that does the damage, I think. Yes, because Yoshi's going to prove to him that there are now two parts to his boomerang. Chris was the one who really started getting the Australian Championships moved around amongst the capital cities too. We'd always held them in Albury prior to his move. There's Les with a typical Les throw.
And that's their Admiral, isn't it?
That's their Admiral's hat, yes. Ovington is one who's stuck at it right through the years. He mainly got into it, of course, because Michael was interested, and that's often the way that many boomerang people become involved, I think, through the family.